Today I wanted to make a video about the differences between the UK and Germany. As I've mentioned before, I've lived in the UK for 4 years now. I am from the north of Germany, and especially when I arrived for the very first time, a lot of things seemed very different here. The first thing is probably a bit obvious really, but it's definitely something that I noticed when I first came to the UK, is that people here drive on the left side, and it's something that most people know anyways, but for me it was actually quite difficult to get used to that. I have a driving license that I got in Germany, so I'm really used to driving on the right side, and I don't know, my whole logic in my head was just always, I don't know, I've just found it really hard to accept people drive on the left side here, and now it's fine after 4 years, but I think the first 1 or 2 years I really struggled with crossing roads and looking in the right direction, and it just often just seems weird to me. The next thing is something that I already noticed when I went to America for 6 months. It's that water is generally still, which for most people probably seems normal, but in Germany normal water is fizzy water, so whenever you order water somewhere you'll get fizzy water, whereas in the UK you will generally get still water, and it's actually not that easy to find fizzy water everywhere. I mean, most supermarkets have a few brands that will have fizzy water, but it's not the norm, and it's weird because I grew up on fizzy water, and for a long time I couldn't really drink still water because it's just so weird to me. I hear that a lot from British people, that they find it weird the other way around, that they can't really drink fizzy water, but it has to be fizzy for me. Fizzy all the way. The next thing is table service and tipping. In Germany, pretty much every place, I've never been to a place that didn't have it like this, where you go, you will receive table service, so you just go in, you sit yourself down, and there's usually no one that will show you to a table. You usually just go in, find a free table, sit down, and then someone is gonna come to your table, take your order, and then you pay at the very end. Whereas in England, a lot of places you will have to order at the bar, so you can go in, find yourself a table, but no one will come and take your order, so you have to go to the bar, pay at the bar, and then take your food to your table, which is very weird. And I think I've made that mistake a few times, where I sat myself down and waited for someone to come, and no one ever came. This is a bit of an odd one maybe, but it's bottles and cans are not being returned to the store. This might be very specific to Germany, but basically in Germany we have a law that we recycle cans and most bottles. So if you go in a German shop, you'll see a lot of bottles like cola or anything that look really like beaten up and old, and that's because we reuse our bottles. So like the thick plastic bottles, they reuse them like up to 25 times or something. So when you finish drinking them, you bring them back to the store and they give you some money, so you pay a deposit and then they give it back to you. And even with bottles that are not being reused but just recycled, we do the same thing. There is like a little symbol on bottles and cans, which I'm going to put in here. That's what it looks like. And it means that you'll get 25 cents if you return this. So naturally, I mean, 25 cents is quite a lot, especially if you're a student, because if you have 4, that's €1, and €1, you know, you can buy something with that. So people don't throw away their cans and bottles, but they collect them, and that is something that I found really hard to drop, because obviously in the UK we just throw it away, and I found myself collecting my cans for a long time. I just out of habit, I just didn't throw them away, I just kept them, and then I remembered, oh, I don't have to do that. And sometimes when I come home to Germany I throw away other people's cans and I feel really bad about it, but yeah, that's definitely weird. Another weird thing is that in Germany, when you go to a supermarket, you put money in the trolley, so I think it's 50 cents or €1 generally. And you may know this because I think Aldi and Lidl do this in the UK also. So you put a deposit in your trolley, and it is so that you actually return it, and I can see why they do that in Germany, because when I go to Tesco sometimes, you just see a lot of trolleys just standing around randomly because no one can be asked to return them. So I think it's really smart to make people put money in so that they, you know, bring it back. But then it can also be annoying because I can't remember how many times I didn't have €1.50 and they make these like plastic ones, but I always lose mine, so sometimes you just stand in front of a supermarket in Germany and just can't get a trolley, so you have to like wait till there's a nice person that'll give you theirs with their plastic chip in or whatever. I don't really know how to describe this, but British people generally, at least from what I've seen, are more touchy, if that makes any sense. I'm from the north of Germany and we have a reputation of being especially closed off, but I think the German mentality is generally quite to yourself, and when you meet someone new in Germany you go in for a handshake and not a hug, and I find a lot of the time in the UK people go in for a hug on the first meeting, which for me, especially at first, was really weird. Like, I remember being here for a few months and still finding it really weird to meet new people and they immediately try and hug me. I was like, because we just do handshakes. But I got used to it now and I quite like hugging, so it's fine. But yeah, that was really weird at first. In Germany, we have, in our language, we have different ways of addressing someone. So we have like a formal you and an informal you, which to a certain degree I guess you could say you have in English too, just by the way you know, build a sentence, I guess, but we actually have like different words for it. So most people that are not your close friends or family you will always address with a formal you, and in the UK it just still feels weird to me that I address my colleagues by their first name, because that's informal, and that you can call your boss by their first name. I'll probably never get over that, but in Germany you would never do that. You always call people by their last names, so you would always say Mr. or Mrs. blah blah. Always, even if you've worked with them for like 20 years, you probably still only call them by their last name. Whereas, yeah, here you just go in a new company and it's like, yeah, this is your boss, Max, and this is your colleague, Tom. It's so weird to me still, because like, there's just no barrier, whereas in Germany there's always really this big kind of distance between work colleagues, kind of, I guess it's just a respect thing. And even your friends' parents you wouldn't address by their first name unless they offer it to you, or even your boyfriend's or girlfriend's parents, you would call them by their last name until they tell you otherwise. So yeah, it feels really weird to just call everyone you and by their first name like they're your friend, because no. Another thing I've noticed, obviously, is that the Brits love to queue. I mean, Germans love a good queue, but not to the extent that Britons do. I see people queue sometimes and you don't even know what they're queuing for. They just see a queue and they're like, oh, I feel like queuing and complaining about the weather, so let's go. Definitely not something we do in Germany very much. This is a weird one, but the light switches in the UK are different. At least some of them are. This is a really embarrassing story, but when I first came to the UK, in my bedsit, we had a shared bathroom. I think I shared it with 1 or 2 other people. And for a week and a half, I could not figure out how to turn the light on. So I showered in the dark, because the light switch was one of those pieces of string, or like, it's just like a, I still don't know what to call it. It's like just string that comes from the ceiling and you have to pull on the string to turn the light on, which is something that I didn't think of for a week and a half, because in Germany we don't have that. We just have classic light switches where you're off and on, and apparently in some bathrooms you have a cord that you pull on, which just seems weird. I don't even remember how I worked it out, but I probably heard someone else pull it and I was like, maybe that's how to turn the light on. But yeah, I showered in the dark because I couldn't work it out. Self-checkouts is something that I've never seen in Germany. I mean, I'm sure there is some high-tech shops that will have them, but every shop in the UK almost has a self-checkout, which is, I mean, I got used to it now and I find it quite convenient, but when I first came here I was quite scared of it and I didn't really understand why. I almost feel like in Germany it's kind of important that when you go shopping you kind of talk to the person at the cash register, like you say hi, how are you, blah blah blah. And, you know, you have like a conversation, and here it's all like really hi, bye. If you actually go to a person checkout, you just say hi, bye. Like, you don't even talk. Whereas I worked at a cash register in Germany for 2 years, and I know that a lot of people make conversation and you like talk about stuff. So I just found it really odd to have self-checkouts where you talk to no one. It's like completely anonymous visit. You just go in the shop, check yourself out, go out, haven't talked to anyone. So I quite like that because I love not talking to people, but I found it really weird. This is another thing that I will never understand, but apparently in the UK when you rent a flat you're not allowed to decorate it yourself, which I'm very sure in Germany the law is that if you rent a flat you can do to it whatever you want as long as you talk to your landlord, I guess. But I think you're generally allowed to make holes in the walls, paint whatever colour you want. You can even change the kitchen and stuff like that, whereas in all my contracts I ever had in the UK it always said no holes in the walls, no goldfish, no shelves, no painting, no new floors, nothing. Like, you weren't allowed to change anything, which I find really restrictive because our flat is really small and we're not allowed to put shelves in. So yeah, I don't really like that very much and I think it's unfair. I think this one goes a bit hand in hand with addressing people with informal you, but it's emails. In Germany, when you get an email from like a colleague or a professional place, it'll always be very formal, like dear blah blah, and then at the end, sincerely yours, this. Whereas in England it's like, hi, da 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 da, cheers. Just sounds like you're talking to a friend when you're not, you're talking to someone you don't know and they still say hi. Weird. You might find that really normal, but for me that's still weird because, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I like that about Germany because it's quite stiff, just the way, because whenever I get emails now from German companies I'm always like, why are you talking to me like I'm a 90-year-old person? But it's just the way it works over there. Just have to be really, really formal. Love being formal there. This is another very obvious one, but in the UK people wear school uniforms. In Germany we don't have school uniforms, so you can wear whatever you want to school. Most schools don't even have dress codes at all, so you can literally wear whatever you want. I remember a girl in my class used to come in almost a bikini sometimes, which was kind of disturbing, but yeah, that's how we do it over there. Just come as you are, wear what you want. I think that is it. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.